Hello everybody, this is Astro Eleanor. I'm a practicing astrologer and a witch, and today I'm cosplaying as a vampire.
Don't come to my house or else I'll suck your dick.
In today's video, I will break down why being 19 and 23 can be so challenging, and I don't want you out here struggling and fighting for your life, so I will also add a survival guide in this video so that you can be equipped to handle these stages in your life. Since spooky season is here, I thought of celebrating with an amazing surprise, and I'm offering these limited edition readings that will be available only until the 31st of October, so only until Halloween night. I'm so excited about these readings because my bookings have been closed for the past 2 months, and there's a reading about love, one about your home life, one about your shadow self, one about how the eclipses will affect you for the upcoming 6 months. So if you'd like to book one, I will leave the link to these readings in the description box and also in the pinned comment below. If you would like to support the channel and me as an astrologer and as a content creator, subscribe to my Patreon. Patreon is literally my safe place. This is where I post all of my astrology research, witchcraft tips, classes, articles, audios, whatever you could think of, it's literally on my Patreon. And I also have this ongoing series about the Venus signs and how to use Venus in your birth chart to enhance your magnetism to become more charming and attractive. So if you're interested in that, I will leave the link in the description box and also in the pinned comment. If you'd like to follow me on social media, my handle is @AstroEleanor on every platform: TikTok, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter. You can find me on there. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing that I'm gonna be talking about is why being 19 and 23 can be so hard according to astrology. As you guys may know, astrology in ancient times was used as a predictive tool, and there's a specific technique called Profection Years that allows you to see which theme in your life will be highlighted based on your age. This ancient predictive technique dates back to Hellenistic and Persian tradition. It emerged as a way to add significance to each year of life for a native and how that relates to each house in the birth chart. The idea behind Profection Years is that as you age, different areas of your life come into focus. And every year on your birthday, a new house in your birth chart gets activated. I'm gonna put up a chart here that you can follow as a guideline to see which house profection year you are in. And this is exclusively based on your age. So if you're 19 or if you're about to turn 19, you will enter an 8th house profection year. So 8th house themes will be highlighted and will come into focus for the upcoming year for you. And if you're 23, your 12th house will be activated. So you will be in a 12th house profection year. This means that 12th house themes will come into focus. And according to this predictive technique, as people, as individuals, we are in these 12-year cycles repeatedly. When you're 7, 19, 31, and so on, you will be in an 8th house profection year. And when you turn 11, 23, and 35, you will be in a 12th house perfection year. The wheel starts at 0 years of age when your first house of physical body and identity gets activated. And then as each year of your life passes by, you continue to move through the houses in a cyclical way. The main purpose of this predictive technique is to help you understand the key themes and challenges and energies that will manifest into your life based on your age. And when you're aware of this, you can make the most of the opportunities that this perfection year will bring you. If you want to know which perfection year you're currently in, make sure that, of course, you know your age, duh, and then look at this chart and pinpoint where your age is at. So if you're 19, your 8th house will be activated. If you're turning 18, your 7th house will be activated. You just need to look at where your age is sitting at in this birth chart, in which house it's sitting at. Let's get, are you f***ing serious? Can you hear that? Yeah. let's get into the meat of this video. When you turn 19, your 8th house is activated, and the 8th house represents deep psychological transformation. And of course, that can be pretty demanding. The 8th house can be associated with times of profound crisis. When it's activated, it can often bring these life-changing experiences. And when you think about it, when you turn 19, you start to go to college, or you join the workforce, or you leave your parents' house, or at the very least, you start relating to people on a more intimate and serious level. There's a lot going on when you're 19. You're about to turn 20 and you're no longer a teen in about a year. It's a pivotal age. Being 19 is a time of transition, and of course that can be super intense. The 8th house also represents a psychological depth and psychological exploration. So when you turn 19, you may be questioning your identity, your values, your morals, who you are at the core. You may even be at a point in your life where you need to decide what you want to do with your life, which steps you want to take towards your future, how you want your future to look like, and that can be so freaking overwhelming. So when you're navigating questions about your identity, your future, your beliefs, and your values, you're just stepping onto this path of self-discovery. It can lead to some internal challenges and inner turmoil because you're not going to have the answer to all of these questions. The 8th house is also connected to intimacy, trust, vulnerability. So you may be dealing with these themes in your personal connections when you're turning 19. Any relationship challenges that come up to the surface can be quite intense during this period of your life. You're no longer a kid. You are making that transition into adulthood. You're also going to be dealing with people one-on-one, needing to develop your communication skills, your conflict resolution skills. You're really going to be facing those parts of yourself that you weren't aware of. The 8th house can be about dealing with those subconscious beliefs that you hold about yourself. Those beliefs that you hold will be shining through in the way that you relate to other people. I don't want to make this all doom and gloom by any means because it doesn't have to be that way, but of course it can be a challenging time depending on your birth chart, and heartbreak could be something that you experience, or a friendship breakup, or even letting go of past versions of yourself, past ways of behaving and being. Being in an 8th house profection year is almost always about putting an end to something, bringing something to its death. So the death of a relationship, the death of an old part of yourself, the death of a stage in your life. And the 8th house is also associated with your hidden fears. So when you're in an 8th house profection year, you will be dealing with your greatest fears and overcoming them and becoming stronger and more resilient. This time in your life will give you the space to build a toolkit and then step into the adult world or adulthood. You may also confront fears related to mortality or abandonment, the future, or existential concerns. I would say being in an 8th house profection year can also be associated with having an identity crisis and redefining who you are. Of course, I'm not going to leave you hanging. How can you deal with this energy? It's very intense, and like I said, I don't want you out here fighting for your life. Let's gather up, take out your notebook and your pen, and let's take some notes. First of all, embrace change. If there's something in your life that just needs to go, you just need to put an end to it, do it. Embrace the change. I know it's easier said than done, but you're gonna save yourself so much heartbreak and so much time instead of just holding on to that thing or that person. It's like watering a dead plant. What do you expect? If it's meant to go, just let it go, because your 8th house is promising a newer and better energy to step into your life, but you do have to make the space for it. You do have to remove what was previously there in order for something else to come in. So remember, embrace change. Do not resist change. Do not try to control things. The more you try to control things during an 8th house profection year, the more things will just slip right through your fingers. Issues related to control and wanting to have everything under control can also rise up to the surface during an 8th house profection year. Tip number 2 for you guys, make sure that you are journaling consistently or that you are engaging in some sort of self-reflection practice. Journaling and therapy, meditation, shadow work are great activities to engage in when you're 19. Even starting therapy, if you've been thinking about it, can be such a great tool to navigate through this time of your life. Use this energy to explore your subconscious, to work through any hidden fears and unresolved traumas. Make sure you're doing the work and that you are holding yourself accountable, and it will help you ease into this time of transition that the 8th house represents. Tip number 3 is to build a support system. You don't have to do this alone. Please remind yourself of the fact that you don't have to carry this burden by yourself. And if you have a trusted friend or a family member, do not hesitate to talk to them. Also, because the 8th house is about intimacy and vulnerability, so when you engage with other people in such a profound way, when you bring your concerns to them and they offer you a listening ear, it can be such a healing experience. And they could also give you the valuable insights and the emotional support that you're looking for. And the last tip that I want to give you is to let go. This is a year of letting go, releasing, saying goodbye, bye-bye, closing out the chapters. Take some time to identify what needs to be released from your life, any toxic people, any toxic behavioral patterns, any toxic thought patterns. So once you identify these patterns or a cycle that you're in, do your best to get out of it, to let it go, to release it, because it is holding you back. The more you try to keep it into your life because it feels comfortable and familiar, the more life is gonna show you that it shouldn't be there. So whether it's old habits, toxic relationships, or emotional baggage, baby, let it go. And now let's talk about why turning 23 can be challenging for some people. On your 23rd birthday, you enter a 12th house profection year. And this house represents the area of your life related to self-reflection, spirituality, isolation, healing, letting go, and endings. And as you could tell by listening to this description, this is not an area of your life that is necessarily easy to deal with. Symbolically speaking, the 12th house represents retreat from the external world. So when you turn 23, you're really gonna feel called to spend a lot of time by yourself. You're gonna need a lot of energy to recharge your social batteries or to recharge your energy as a whole. And of course, that can clash with your social, professional, academic, or familial obligations. You're 23, you have responsibilities, you're an adult, you have things to do, but what you really want to do is just sit in bed and relax and listen to music and journal or watch a movie, whatever you want to do, like whatever is your comfort activity. That's what you're gonna want to do. Or on the flip side, you could feel isolated from the external world. So instead of experiencing it as a desire for solitude, you may also feel very alone, and you may need to reconsider your support system or the people that you have in that support system. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the tarot and with the Hermit card, but when you enter a 12th house profection year, you're really gonna go in hermit mode. You're gonna embody that hermit archetype that's represented in the tarot. The 12th house is also connected to your subconscious mind, and during this stage of your life, you may become aware of your subconscious patterns and any self-undoing behaviors, any self-destructive patterns, and so on. If you have any unhealthy coping mechanisms, you're gonna feel the consequences of that right now in this stage of your life, or you're gonna become aware of the fact that these coping mechanisms can no longer work for you. Being in a 12th house perfection year will put you face to face with your shadow self and with your inner demons, and that can be quite disorienting. The 12th house is also linked to hidden enemies, so you may meet some people that have ill intentions or that come across one way but really there's something darker lying beneath the surface. Things may not always be what they seem, and you do need to develop your intuition and use your discernment during this time. People that are in your circle already could reveal themselves to be your hidden enemy, or you may even discover some sort of secret about them, or you may discover that they don't really have your best interest at heart. And the 12th house is also connected to secrets, so you may come across a lot of hidden information, or you may be putting the dots together and discovering a secret. There's a ton of ways that this could manifest, honestly, but secrets and hidden enemies could be two themes that are connected and that will be relevant for you when you turn 23. Being in a 12th house perfection year can also encourage you to heal, to do the inner work. This is a great time for introspection and for healing past wounds and traumas. So you may be dealing with unresolved issues and clearing out a lot of emotional baggage. Of course, while this can be very therapeutic, it can also be challenging when you're riding the waves of your emotions. So with that being said, I think it's time for me to give you the tools to deal with a 12th house perfection year. First of all, tip number 1 is to embrace solitude. Accept your need for alone time and for self-reflection during your 12th house perfection year. Use this time to meditate, to explore your subconscious, to enjoy being by yourself, to enjoy your own company. Make sure you're connecting with your inner self. Tip number 2 is to explore your spiritual side. You can engage in spiritual practices like yoga and mindfulness or journaling or even manifestation. These activities can help you find inner peace and balance, and if you work on developing your intuition during this time, it can be extremely proficuous. You can see your intuition going from 0 to 100. Tip number 3 is that if you're dealing with issues from the past and if it's getting just a little bit too much, I would personally encourage you to seek therapy or to go to a therapist. That sounded wrong. I encourage you to seek therapy. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant, but that's a little bit too harsh. I would advise you to begin a journey in therapy so that you can deal with any unresolved issues and so that you can have an easier time clearing out any emotional baggage. Going to therapy can be a safe place for you to address your wounds and to work through any traumas and to close those chapters of your life. I think it's pretty clear that being in a 12th house perfection year is all about kickstarting your healing journey. And the last tip that I want to give you for dealing with this time of your life is to stay grounded as much as possible. If you can meditate on a daily basis, especially with grounding meditations, that would be chef's kiss. The 12th house spiritual nature sometimes can make you feel disconnected from reality. So when you have a routine that you're following or a schedule, you're staying grounded in your reality. So you're not going to feel as spaced out or disconnected. While you are connecting with your inner self, you are also creating a balance with the other areas of your life and the other responsibilities that you need to keep up with. With that being said, the last portion of this video will be about how to determine if an 8th house perfection year or a 12th house perfection year will be difficult for you, and how to determine what your 8th house perfection year or your 12th house perfection year will be about. What kind of themes? Can we get more nuance? Yes, we can, and that's what we're gonna do. Take this with a grain of salt if you don't have experience with astrology, and make sure you consult a professional astrologer like me, for example, shameless plug, so that you can know for sure if an 8th house or 12th house perfection year will be difficult for you. Things are not black and white in astrology. As a rule of thumb, you need at least 3 indicators for one specific thing in order for that thing to be true or likely to manifest. Just because there's one indicator that determines that your 8th house profection year or 12th house profection year will be particularly challenging, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what will happen. And this is why consulting with a professional astrologer for more accuracy can be crucial, because you can tend to have a very doomed perspective when you're looking at your own birth chart. And I'm saying this because I've experienced it and I don't want you to go through the same thing. Keep that in mind when you're listening to this portion of the video. The first thing that we are going to cover is the condition of your 12th house or your 8th house. And you can determine the condition of a specific house in your birth chart by looking at which planets are in it and which planet rules that house. Let's start with the easy thing. Which planets are in your 8th house? What do you need to look out for? First of all, if you have Venus or Jupiter in your 8th house or 12th house, it can determine that you might have an easier time during your 12th house or 8th house profection year, because these are the 2 benefics in astrology. These 2 planets usually promote harmonious and benevolent circumstances in your life, so they just make things a little bit easier. Just because you have Venus or Jupiter in one of these houses doesn't necessarily mean that your 12th house or 8th house profection year will be easier, because if Venus or Jupiter is in detriment or in its sign of fall, here's a chart for reference, or if one of these 2 planets are forming a square or opposition or conjunction to Mars or Saturn, one of the malefics, the benefic effects of Jupiter or Venus may be diminished. On that same note, if you have Mars or Saturn in your 8th house or 12th house, you might have a more challenging 8th house or 12th house profection year. That's because these are the 2 malefic planets in astrology, which are known to bring unfavorable circumstances in your life. Another indicator for a challenging 12th house year can be having Capricorn, Aquarius, Scorpio, or Aries in your 8th house or your 12th house. These are the Mars and Saturn ruled signs, and of course, since these signs are ruled by the malefic planets in astrology, it can point to having a more challenging experience during your 12th house or 8th house profection year. Instead, if you have Taurus, Libra, Pisces, or Sagittarius in your 8th house or in your 12th house, it can point to you having an easier experience during your 8th house or 12th house profection year. The next thing you want to look at is the ruler of your 12th house or 8th house. And the ruler of a specific house is determined by looking at which sign is in that house and then which planet rules that sign. I'm gonna leave a reference chart right here for those of you guys who are not familiar with planetary rulers. So let's say you have Gemini in your 8th house. Your 8th house ruler is gonna be Mercury. Or let's say you have Leo in your 12th house. The sun would be your 12th house ruler. Once you determine the ruler of your 8th house or 12th house, you want to look at its condition in your birth chart. If the ruler of your 8th house or 12th house is afflicted by Saturn or Mars, it can point to a more challenging 8th house or 12th house profection year. Instead, if it's forming a trine or a sextile or a conjunction to Venus or Jupiter, it can point to an easier 8th house or 12th house year experience. You also need to look at if your 8th house or 12th house ruler is in domicile, detriment, fall, or exaltation. Domicile and exaltation are favorable conditions that can point to an easier 8th house or 12th house perfection year, while detriment and fall can be more challenging. And of course, don't forget to look at your transits. That's really a game changer because it allows you to give a specific context to the things that you're experiencing. To add more nuance to interpreting your 8th house or 12th house perfection year, you need to be looking at where your 8th house or 12th house ruler is located in your birth chart. When you look at where your 8th house or 12th house ruler is located, you can see more about the kind of things that you will experience. You can get even more specific. So let's say your 8th house ruler falls in the 4th house. When you turn 19, you may be working through some psychological patterns that you inherited from your family, or you may be cutting ties with your family or healing your relationship with your mother or with your father. You could be letting go of certain patterns that have been carried over in your family or breaking generational curses. Let's say your 12th house ruler is in the 3rd house. Your 12th house year will be about working through your thought patterns, especially your inner dialogue, considering how it may be hindering you or sabotaging you. You may also feel isolated from your siblings and your cousins or your childhood friends, which are people represented by the 3rd house. And this is kind of an advanced way to look at your profection years. If you'd like an interpretation, leave a comment down below and I will make sure to get to as many people as possible. And with that being said, that is everything that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video and I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that you have an amazing day. Mwah!